TTRL. Welcome. We are joined today by local musicians Julie Black and Dave Eichenberger. Welcome, y'all. How's it going?
Hey, thanks for having us.
It's good to see you today.
You too. Absolutely. Thanks for being on the show. So can you tell us a little bit about yourselves? Are you from Tampa, St. Pete? I know you mentioned Sarasota in the song.
You have a good ear. I love that. Actually, so I always say I'm from everywhere, which is, just easier than saying. Actually, I was born in California, but I was raised in Illinois and spent my youth outside of a grain silo. And then I moved to Florida when I was a teenager, and I've been here longer than anywhere. So this is home.
Yeah, this being home is Pasco County, Newport Richey, historic Newport Richey.
NPR.
There we
That's right. We like to say NPR. That's right. So we live in the Arts District of Newport Richey, which is a city that was founded on a silent film colony. Pretty cool history itself here, and a lot of creative folks.
Ooh.
Oh, I didn't know anything about that.
Yeah, all kinds of cool stuff. You have to come and buzz around town a little bit.
We have
a beautiful theater.
Yeah, our old theater was built in 1923, I think.
We have the Hacienda Hotel, which is due to open up soon, which was built in the 1920s. I think.
Yeah, in the 20s, yeah.
Wow, I feel like there's such this kind of negative stereotype that people have of Florida in so many different, just nationally, I feel like we're always the butt of so many jokes. But there, just like you're explaining, there are like these beautiful little pockets of these arts districts and really creative people creating these really awesome spaces.
Absolutely. I think you're totally right. As we have traveled around with music doing shows in places, we would run into a lot of the thing that you're talking about. This I just call it a misperception. And I'll say, the entire time that we've been doing music out and about and all over, as people have presented, they'll say, where are you from? We'll explain. And there might be kind of a little undertone to things. And we just take that as an opportunity to provide them with more information and invite them to come down. And there's just throughout Tampa Bay, to both of your point, there are a lot of beautiful hidden spaces. I think we're kind of laid back about things. So, we all collectively are working at conveying our story better so that people know about all these wonderful things that we enjoy and this beautiful bouquet of existence that living in Florida is.
So your video, you were performing on a front porch.
That's right.
Is that something you did for the video, or is this like a front porch? Did you have an audience or?
Yeah, we do. This is actually part of a series that we do from our front porch every Sunday afternoon, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we started that right as the pandemic hit. And it's carried on, although that wasn't initially the intention. The intention was this, I'm a very sensitive, feely person, right? I just felt that the world needed some connection, and this was very stressful experience, especially at the beginning for most people. And what we do as creatives is we connect to people and we help them to process how they feel, and we help them to reframe things. And whether we're doing that directly or indirectly, that is an aspect of what we do. And I felt very urgently that we needed to connect and to provide that if anybody wanted to pick it up, if it was right for them. And lo and behold, it really just took off. And yeah, we do have quite an audience. And so we've done that for a little over a year now. Yeah,
we do it every Sunday. It's broadcast on Facebook Live. The thing was, when the pandemic started, being an original band, we were playing lots of festivals and things that just got canceled one after another. And it was so many shows just in clubs just shut down. Every festival shut down, every club just shut down. We just watched the calendar dates just end. And we said we better play, there were still people who wanted to come out and see us. It's interesting because people sometimes, they drive by and stop. Some people know, they know us. So they just know that time they just come over and sit on our front lawn.
Some people have just found us by driving by, and now they regularly appear. As we've gone from being extremely private people to having just any random person in our yard.
Right. And generally these little concerts are just about 4 songs. We pick 4 songs. most of which Julie has written, and maybe one or two historic songs like from the 20s or 30s or something like that.
As well as songs we've composed together. That's something we also started relatively a couple of years ago. We started writing together as well because we're both very solitary writers. And that's been a really fun experience.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about how that experience is different versus writing on your own?
When we started writing together, I will say it was both exhilarating and exciting, and yet also a little challenging at first because of the way that we approach music and the way that we approach writing individually is just so very different.
Yeah, I think what happened for me is that I had to kind of learn to surrender a little bit and stop being in control of everything. And I was okay if it ended up, in one place versus where I thought it was going to go. And sometimes I might write something, just a handful of chords, and just hand it over to her and say, what do you think about this? Is there something there? And then she would start writing something so completely different than I ever thought could possibly be there. And it would be nothing like I would ever come up with.
And the interesting thing, it would be nothing like I would normally come up with. I am very much constantly in the flow. It's not unusual. I could write 10 songs a day. I'm kind of just in that space all the time. And so essentially what he would do is he would be lighting this fire. And unless he told me like, hey, and this is how this is what I'm thinking or where I want to go, I feel like he's giving me these, he brings these ingredients and all of a sudden he's just lit this fire and all of a sudden, everything's ablaze. And we actually, I can think of one song that we did that way, which was God of War, which is one of our more popular recent songs. It's a really rich song. And he did this beautiful chord structure. And he said, well, see what you can come up with. And I maybe took a little bit too much.
Oh, it was so different, so wrong.
Leeway.
I was like, this is nowhere near where this is supposed to be. Okay, we're not working on this anymore. This is not happening. But it actually turned out to be really wonderful and very, very fun to play.
Although not remotely what he had initially had in mind, but he didn't convey what he had in mind.
Right.
So.
But I have to be okay with that. And I am okay with that. And I, through that process, that's, it's totally fine to just let go and let's see what happens with this stuff. And I'd never really done that. Anytime I've been in bands, I was the one who was writing everything. I was always the one who was arranging everything. Like I'd write everybody's parts out and tell them what to play. And it was just this big thing that I saw from the beginning.
He masterminds things. He really does.
Well, yeah. I saw the structure and I knew exactly what was supposed to happen. And I would, so it was such a different way of getting a piece into the world when I said, here, just take this, see what you could do with it.
Whereas for me, I just kind of jump off a cliff.
I love the way music can kind of take you out of your comfort zone and you can be gifted this thing that you could have never predicted, and how it can give you this gift outside of just the music itself.
Absolutely true. The creative process, I always tell folks as they talk to me about different things and they're trying to learn things or they're frustrated with this or that the creative process is a messy process, and that's half the fun.
How did you develop an interest in that very specific type of music?
This is an interesting question. I'll do my best to be brief, but when I was growing up, I wasn't really exposed to, I wasn't able to listen to popular music. I didn't have a TV. I grew up in a very rural area. I didn't have a lot of contact with people. And my life was unnecessarily, as a lot of people can connect to, I'm sure, difficult and complex. And I happened to find a record in a thrift store, which I had to hide like drugs in my house because it was not something I was really allowed to have. And I found this 45 record. It was a song called Cry to Me by this singer I'd never heard of named Solomon Burke. Now, I didn't know very much about music. I didn't know much about popular culture. I had no idea if this was, when this really was the history of this music or anything. And I played that song. I would play it as often as I could when there was no one around. And Solomon Burke is known as the king of rock and soul, and he has just this rich, majestic, strong, deep, powerful voice that so deeply conveys emotion. It reached right inside me and pulled me out of darkness. That's all I can say is that in my view of things, that he not only lit a fire for me on my musical journey, but the larger thing was that his music kind of saved my life. And I think that it can do that sometimes. Music can be, for lack of a better term, a form of salvation for someone. And I was in a situation that was not used to music that had such emotion and such heat and such expressiveness and such sensuality, that this was like, wow, this really amazing thing. And the song goes, when your baby leaves you all alone and nobody calls you on the phone, don't you feel like crying? Don't you feel like crying? Well, here I am, honey. Come on, cry to me. And at that point in time, I really didn't have anyone to cry to. And so this was what appeared in my life. I think a lot of people can connect to that for different reasons. This was the little crack in the door that said, there's something other than this life you're experiencing right now.
They found a lion face down at the altar. She had her vows written on her hand. Her promise spilled out red on the carpet. Isn't love great? He met her on the streets of Sarasota, where the only thing that mattered was a dream. She spent her days filled with inspiration, and every night out drumming on the beach. She was so special, she was so fine, she was so fragile, she was so fine. He showered her with words of deep affection and cast his roses down upon her feet. He promised her that love would bring ascension, and for her love he would do anything. Love was so special, love was so fine, love was so open, love was so blind. She took in all the promises he gave her and held them as they swung to both extremes. He pinned that little bird down on the pavement. She got lost
Welcome, TTRLers. We are joined today by Zaddy-in-Chief of Creative Loafing, Ray Roa, as well as the fabulous Ybor, Caroline DeBrule. Welcome, y'all. How's it going?
Going well. How are you doing?
Fantastic. How are you?
It's pretty good now that I'm hanging out with all y'all.
Last month when you were on, there were lots of questions about the workplace. And so now this time there's some questions about, more people are getting vaccinated. Things are looking good. Hopefully more things will be opening up. So I guess more people are kind of curious as to what this new world is going to look like.
Yes, they are. And actually that's the term new world is something that I wrote about a lot in this column. So the question that I got this week was about the person had already gotten their first shot and they were feeling a little anxious, but not about getting COVID, but about like returning to the world like as it was, because like there's parts of their lives that they really enjoy now. And, like what's it going to look like when the world goes back to normal? And something that I wanted to stress, because it's like, I feel like people are very excited about this fact, but like, I feel it's my duty to say it's like we won't go back to normal because that normal doesn't exist. And like I leave the column with it's a expression in Latin. It's status quo ante bellum. It means like situation as it was before the war. It's typically like you use in like military strategies, but like you go back to everything it was before this happened. And like that's not possible because like the world that we lived in, the world that we knew, and the world that we, did everything to up until January, February, March of 2020 doesn't exist anymore. And that world, like, it's not a bad thing. It's just a thing. And like, we are currently like in the transition between that world and this world. And we're not really out of that darkness yet. And it is great that we're all getting vaccinated. And soon we're going to be able to experience things that like, we get to go to a bar and we get to hear the words, do you want to open a tab for the first time in a year? Or some of us do. Some of us have been in bars the entire time. Some of us we get to go out to restaurants again. We get to see live music again. And that's really wonderful. But there is, when the pandemic, like the sickness part of it dies down, we are going to have quite a bit of issues with like mental health and what like that is going to look like on a grand scale. And that is something that we really do need to come together to be able to help ourselves with. Like there was this call at the beginning of the pandemic that like we need to unite, that we're all in this together, that like we're all in the same boat. And that didn't happen. We didn't really unite. Some of us did, and then some of us did not. And then we sort of like had a battle in the middle of the ocean. But we, going forward, like this is not going to be just over, and like we're like everything's not going to be done when we're all vaccinated. Like by mid-May, we'll have all these people, we can go out and we can be safe, but like it's not all of it that's done. And so it's very important that we work together right now to get that done. So like that card was the Three of Pentacles in the spread, and that was the only card that was face up. The first card was the Five of Wands, which is reverse, which is like a very lengthy war. And the next card reverse was the Sun. And so like the Sun is like this great opportunity. It is like new life. It is new birth. It is like unbridled joy. And like that is waiting for us. And that will be in the new world. And we get to pick whatever we want from what we loved in quarantine and like what we love from the old world. And we'll bring that to the new world. And that will be there for us when it's ready to get born. I also like draw parallels between like in Tibetan Buddhism, like after you die, you like your soul goes through something called the Bardo, and like we're in the Bardo stage right now, like as humanity, and we have to deal with like all of our karmic shit, and then we will like get reborn, and it'll be great. It'll be noble. So
I love, it's funny that you brought that up because about we just had a conversation with one of the artists that are on the show about mental health and the conversation around mental health, and that I think it's starting to really pierce into the public conversation that after more than a year of going through this, that it has definitely taken a toll on everyone's mental health in a unique and individual way. And that is something that we're going to have to deal with. Even just like, I've noticed going out now, I'm fully vaccinated now, and, I feel comfortable doing certain things that I didn't before. but like going to the grocery store, even I get like some social anxiety around, like I'm, you know, like I'm not used to being around people, and like, you know, it's kind of jarring sometimes.
It is like my parents came to visit, and like I'm fully vaccinated and they're fully vaccinated. I went to a restaurant for the very first time, and I was over in St. Pete Beach, and there was just like so many people around us, and it was so loud. And it's like I haven't heard like that level of noise in over a year, because like I mean I live in Ybor, but you know, I'm in my apartment. I like watch TV, and like that's of what goes. And, like it was so overwhelming, and like you know, it would have been nothing a year ago. So it's like just dealing with things again. It's gonna be quite a bit of like you know dipping our toes back into it, like feeling what it's like, and it can manifest, like those anxieties can manifest in different ways, and people who like really needed to like barrel through this pandemic, like every essential worker, you know, they might have been able to do that, and then when things settle down, that can be a time when anxiety really comes up. I mean, I'm from New Orleans. I got PTSD when I was 15 for Katrina, and then so did literally every adult that I knew. And so like watching that on a grand scale, it we really need to stick together, because it's not the most functional of worlds when everybody is, you know, dealing with their shit. So mutual aid, great thing to happen, you know, really, really need to take care of each other.
I think that's such a great thing to bring up, and a really important conversation to have, you know, because, you know, it's easy to overlook that and think like, oh, things are back to normal, let's just jump right in. But there is, you know, a transition period. There is going to be, you know, everyone's going to react to it differently. And we have created a new normal in the pandemic. And so adjusting to this new world, and like going back to the workplace and going back to things that you used to do is going to be different.
It is. And you know, maybe different better, maybe different worse, maybe different like why would I go back to that life? You know, it like seemed fine when I was there, but when I was out of it for a year, it's like, you know, why am I ever gonna put on like high heels again? Or like, you know, why, I mean I probably will, because, you know, fashion, but you know, it's like small things that you're just like, why would I do this thing that was normal in my life? Like I can't, no, like that's been let go and like doesn't serve me.
TTRL, welcome. We are joined by local singer-songwriter Kerry Courtney. Welcome, Kerry.
Thank you. It's good to be here in the computer screen.
It's good to have you here in the computer screen. Right now, you're doing standalone, just Kerry Courtney, but you've also been in bands, plural. I know you were in Goodnight Neverland. Can you tell us a little bit about your local music history here?
Oh, absolutely. It's kind of a long start, but I kind of started with the dudes that were in Goodnight Neverland with me. We were friends when we were little. We started at like, I think I was maybe 12 years old, 11 or 12 when we started the band. And we went through like different band names that I'm not going to mention because they were just awful. But then we got into a band called Come Thou Sleep. And basically our last style change was with Goodnight Neverland. And we've been fortunate enough as Goodnight Neverland to play with some of our favorite bands coming through. There was a while where we were just like really well connected with a lot of the promoters and with, you know, with the Crowbar and whatnot. And whenever a touring band would come through, they would pop us on there. Through all that time, we've kind of built up our reputation and whatnot locally, and even, you know, doing some tours internationally as far as nationally. But the guys in the band, my bassist is a full-time firefighter, and my drummer he's traveling the world. Like he lived in China for a year, and that was when we kind of took a step back from Goodnight Neverland, because although it was like it's my project and the songs are like mine, it just didn't feel right to continue Goodnight Neverland without the two people I started with that I had such history with. So it was a real disheartening time, honestly, and still not now thinking about it. It's like I just talked to my old bassist today, and we're gonna be doing something with Goodnight Neverland in the future. It's not like completely done, but basically that time of, oh, I'm putting this on hold. So I'm like, what do I do with my life? Do I like start a new band project name and just do it under my own self, or do I go under my own name? And I talked to many people that I respect in the music scene, both locally and just around the world. And I had a lot of mixed reviews. Like I had some people straight up tell me, they're like, it's a little vain to like go under your own name. And I took that, I took that to heart. I was like, yeah, you're right. Like, I see what you're saying. Like, especially because my project, it's not a singer-songwriter, like acoustic project. It's just like a full band project. So I had to like in my head go to a lot of like my favorite artists that are kind of like me, where it's a full band project, not acoustic, where like Patrick Watson, Sufjan Stevens, where it's not just the name, it's like a whole thing around it. So outside, what kind of helped me leaving Goodnight Neverland was, and it sounds like, oh, whatever to bring it up, but American Idol, because I did that and I started getting like people searching my own name and more just attention on, oh, what is Kerry Courtney doing? Like, when is Kerry Courtney going to put out music? So it really hit me that I'm like, you know what, this could be a thing. This could be this is my final, like, it's under my own name. So I'm not going to be like, oh, I'm not doing music under Kerry Courtney anymore, because I'm always going to be doing music. So
Can you tell us a little bit about this single, Sweetheart?
Oh, absolutely. Wow. So this song, the idea of this song started in Wales, and this is just the spark of it. I was on a UK Europe tour, and that day we took a ferry from, I believe it was Ireland into Wales, and there was a local band that had a lyric that was it was really good. I forgot what the band's name is, but the lyric was "My Sweetest Heart," and he was talking about someone, and I was like, oh, that's so endearing, being like, I don't know, just the way he was talking about it. And I just I was so inspired by that song. I talked to the guys afterwards. It was cool playing on that tour, because the openers were, being in whatever country they were, it was cool to be able to connect on that level. But I kind of played off the idea, and I'm like, that's when and on that tour, I wrote that melody, like, you got a sweet heart and I love you for it. And that's all I had. And then fast forwarding, it's kind of funny, because fast forwarding years later, when I was going into the studio, I had the opportunity to record as many songs as I wanted to, I was lucky to be in this position. And my first thought was like, oh, I'm going to do a 10-song CD. And then I was really thinking about it. I'm like, this is like my first thing I'm putting out under my name. So I wanted to put it like, I wanted to just do the songs I really believed in. And that's when I started writing Sweetheart, because I'm like, I scratched a lot of the songs that I thought were going to be on the record. And I'm like, it's just not good enough for me, for like what I want to put my name under. And the lyric, like, will we ever get it right? Honestly, I don't know. It's about in a relationship of like, are we ever gonna get this right? And it's just a honest answer of like, where, see sometimes you want to hear like, yes, we will. And it's just like, honestly, I don't know. And then the next lyric is something totally different. It's not about a relationship. It's about someone being suicidal and asking like, is there meaning in anything in life? And it's, what you would want to hear would be like, yes, there is meaning. Yes, you should live. And it's from my honest perspective of when I am in that dark moment where I'm like, honestly, like, I don't know. I can't lie to you and tell you, yes, you should hold on right now, because there's meaning to things, which I do deep down believe that. But it's just kind of dark, but in the end of the day, it's like, there's a positivity. I think what people really need is to know they're not alone.
1, 2, 3, 4. I can feel your eyes wandering through time. You said, will we ever get it right? Honestly, I don't know. You don't have to hide from your dark gray skies. You said, is there meaning in anything? Honestly, I don't know. This house is haunted like your memory as it leaves your mind. Water hit, morphine drip, mind floating toward the uphill climb. You got a sweetheart, and I love you for it. You got a sweetheart, don't you dare forget it. Ooh. Ah, da, da. Ah, da, da, da. What a pretty light, never black and white. I know you've been trying to make it home, running with your eyes closed. I'm seeing pale voices, running with everything I am. I lost it, psych ward trip, heart changed like seasons pass through time. You got a sweetheart, and I love you for it. You got a sweetheart, don't you dare forget it. Hell, you got a sweetheart, ooh, and I love you for it. Oh, you got a sweetheart, don't you dare forget it. Oh. Even as they fall, you count the stars before you sleep, growing purple flowers from your heart till you find peace. With everything you've been through, dear, you're stronger than you think. You're kinda fucked up, and I love you for it. You got a sweetheart, don't you dare forget it. You got a sweetheart, and I love you. Oh, you got a sweetheart, don't you dare forget it. Ooh, na na na.